Insta people are getting a little live show beforehand. All right, let's do this. Chat room is open. We're ready to roll. Comes down 3, 2, 1. It is Locked On Jazz coming to you from New Orleans, where the Utah Jazz will get ready to play the Pelicans again. We'll preview that matchup, a rewatch of the win over the Nets, Rudy Gobert's 5 minutes of defensive genius, and your questions on a Locked On Live edition of Locked On Jazz. It's all coming up from New Orleans right now. Pow! How are you? I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA Insider. This is Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully giving everyone a nice day. Oh, shoot, I forgot to do one thing. All right, well, I'll stand up here quickly and go get it and just deal with it during the show. There we go. I forgot my ice pack. I was supposed to ice my foot for 30 minutes while doing my show. Multitasking, I tell you. Multitasking. Now I have no sock on. It's really cold. Bah! All right, I hope you're doing great. Thanks so much. I think I told you about what the show is. If you're new to the show, we do it live on Thursdays. Have a good time with it. Take your questions. We try to come to you live on multiple platforms. We come to you live on Instagram at DLock09, on Twitter at Locked On Sports, on Facebook, on Locked On Live, as well as Locked On Sports. We come to you live on Twitch as well as on YouTube. So thank you very much. Send your questions in. I've got the I've got the restream going, and I have the Instagram going for questions. So we should be able to get all of those in today. Look forward to engaging. And I've got my dual screens up so that I have all the questions over here all by themselves, but also so if I need to do a little web searching, I can do that and keep your questions up. All right, I rewatched the game the other night. A few things jumped out to me. One, overall effort's just really, really high. And there is you know what? I mean, look at last night. Boston goes and suddenly just loses to Detroit at home, and the Lakers lose to Orlando at home. You know, this actually is the time of year in which you end up kind of dropping games because you're not entirely engaged. You're at 41. It's tiring. It's long. You're kind of working yourself toward the All-Star break. That's actually pretty common, that this is the time of year where you might drop one or two. And the Jazz have really, this is what's impressive to what I'm seeing. I think energized by the trade. I don't know if it's conscious by the front office, but they sure make those moves early. It's impressive that they get that move done early each of the last 2 years. And I think that helps a great deal, and then eventually the team coming together. But there is just Jordan Clarkson diving on the floor for that ball, getting it to Tony Bradley, who was about to dive on the floor also, was just a mammoth play that represented, I thought, an awful lot. But also, you know, early plays in that game, we're just rotating out to shooters. They don't get any three-point shots. They don't drive and kick in the Jazz very much, and the Jazz just did a wonderful job of closing out. So the overall effort of this group in that game was just tremendous. I mean, really, really tremendous. And that's probably the number one thing that jumped out to me. We watched the Nets broadcast. Ian Eagle and Sarah are just awesome. I meant to send them a text. What do you do on that, by the way? I need a little social norm question. Okay. So Ian Eagle is like 7-time New York Broadcaster of the Year award winner. He is the best there is on the national front. I mean, he's right up there with Harlan. He is great. Sarah is a rock star. I mean, she has defied all logic and all odds and just all. And I listened to the broadcast, and it was just fabulous. So I started to, write them a text that said, hey, you guys, I just listened, and, I know I'm not, any authority, and, I don't really know what value, but, gosh, you were great. And I just read it, and it was, so stupid. So I didn't send it. Am I supposed to send things like that? What is – I don't know. I don't want to act like oh, I'm judging you when I'm listening to you. Like, they're way better than me. Like, I'm like not in either of their classes as a broadcaster. And so anyway, you guys just get full me. Like, I mean, that's what this show is. You got the white, beautiful hotel room I'm in right now. The hotel art's not good in this place. Instagram gets a special look at the hotel art. There's a mirror, and then the mirror takes you to kind of there's the blinds, and my room's a mess. So we'll keep it tilted up that way. And right, like there's no hotel art. This it's got a massive TV though. So I got that going for me. Except for I never turn my TV on in the room unless actually I almost never to that. Dustin says just trade headsets after the game. You know what would be really cool? I would trade game notes, like my broadcast notes with everybody else's broadcast notes. That'd be kind of a fun thing. I love that. That's great. All right, so that was really. I'm going to try to. Hopefully, the Utah Jazz will put out. I put together late last night a little piece on Rudy Gobert's final 5 minutes of defense last night when I went bananas, but not on my call, just on all the kind of just the brilliance of Rudy and looking at it. And really, when you watch Rudy, there's a lot to it. It's not just that he's long. He's instinctually brilliant at what he's doing defensively. He understands the plays. He understands. His feet are amazing. He uses these little jab feet steps at defenders, gets them off balance and uncomfortable, and forces them, and then that's what allows him to get back to his guy. His length is obviously 1 in a million. His commitment and desire is certainly high. But really, his understanding of angles, his defensive instinct, his feet, his length, and his multiple actions. We've talked about it. We talked about it last year. And for his unique thing, I think I've told the Alex Jensen story a lot of times about how I was with Alex Jensen in a team bus, sitting next to him on the bus to Madison Square Garden. And Alex was watching film of Cantor and Gobert was making multiple actions defensively. In other words, getting at the shooter, coming back for the rebound, getting the shooter, getting back at the roller. And Alex, like, this guy's going to be just incredible. You just don't find players that can do multiple actions. So that is, that to me is what separates Rudy. And I try to, in this video, express that and show that to you. So hopefully we'll get that up. If not, hopefully they'll let me put it up on my accounts if they don't need it. But try to, let the masses see it is the way social media works. So let them do it on theirs. All right, Pelicans are interesting. They look like there was all the hubbub about Zion. It would have been fun. I actually think it's bad for us. I don't think he's going to be particularly good when he first comes out. He's atrocious defensively, and he's really heavy. So while he's just the world's greatest athlete that's ever existed, he's really, I think, going to have – I don't think he's going to help them win. I mean, the same way that when DeAndre Ayton came back, it doesn't look like it really helped the Suns and Marvin Bagley. I don't think it's really helping the Kings. So this is not surprising to me when young guys come back that it doesn't actually help teams. The Pelicans are 4 games behind Memphis, and I still think they're the favorites to be the 8th playoff team. Since we played them, they went and beat the Bulls and Knicks, lost to the Celtics, and then they won in overtime against Detroit despite having like half their team. So this team, they've clicked in. They've won 8 of their last 11, I think it is. And I know it is. 8 of their last 11 and 9 of their last 13. So they're really playing well. Their losses are to us, Boston, and the Lakers. And we won it on the final play, and in their minds, very controversially. So this team is rolling. They have Faves back. They do not have Drew Holiday, who's actually not been very good this year, and so might not be totally hurting them that Drew Holiday's not back, and though he's really good. And Brandon Ingram is expected to be back as well. J.J. Redick is still questionable, so that will be interesting to see tonight. So that's kind of where we sit on this one, and it should make for a pretty darn good matchup tonight. And we'll see whether the Jazz have any juice left. At some point, we're gonna drop one. I would assume we're not favored tonight. against the Pelicans on the third game of a road trip with the Pelicans having not played in 2 days and all of those kind of things. I would assume that we're not favored. If we're favored tonight, then Vegas has changed their opinion on us. Though Vegas has been kind of right on because I think we're like 50-50 against the spread this year or around there. I always like looking at those. Now, it's nice because now it's kind of out there, like everyone's doing it, and the league has kind of embraced it. We're not allowed to place on any of these games, but it's part of our, as an employee, they might have insider information or something. But I do think it's a good way to kind of have an understanding of what the non-biased money-making opinion is of your game. Does that make sense? Thursday edition of Locked On Jazz is brought to you by Shamrock Auto. Rob Taylor and the crew over at Shamrock Auto do fabulous work, and we love having them involved in our program and what they do. Rob opened up his car dealership because he wanted to really, frankly, make people happy and have them enjoy the car dealership world again. He added Brady Kimball, who's a technician. So now he's got somebody who can look at the cars and make sure he's getting super high quality every single time he gets a car and brings it in. When I talk to Rob, the passion he has toward what he does, which is so cool, is his real passion is those people who call from out of state or those people who pick up the phone and call him and say, I want this. And he goes and gets it for him, and they trust him enough to be the one who gets it. He always says, better cars, no drama, no hassle, great pricing. We can get you any truck, any sedan. 6 to 12 months old, 5 to 10,000, 20,000 miles is kind of what they pride themselves on getting you. Any type of car, but largely in that Utah Salt vehicle area. Call Rob at 801-319-2250. That's 801-319-2250. All right, let's get to your questions. Let's start with this one from Instagram. Is the bench scoring sustainable against elite defenses? So, the overall offensive rating of 120 is probably not sustainable, or else we'd be the greatest offensive team in the history of the NBA. So in that sense, something has to give somewhere. The offensive rating with our starters has been this good all year. Right? If you go to our 3- and 4-man groups that lead the league, the offensive numbers, I talk about it on Locked On NBA today with Ben Golliver, have been that good all year long. So the bench is probably the group where some of those numbers are going to have to come back down. Joe, at some point, Joe stopped shooting 50% from three, right? Don't you think? Joe's one of the 5 best, most efficient jump shooters in the league right now. Kirk Goldsberry had that yesterday. Jaren Jackson, by the way. Wow, we're favored by 5? Cody and Brian tell me that. Oh, that's a lot. Wow. That's interesting. Wow, I'm surprised. I wonder if that'll change as they know who's playing more on their end. Maybe not. But that's so anyway, I mean at some point our scoring has to slow down, right? So if you go to 3-man lineups this year, we've played 400 minutes. We did this last week, right? And run those numbers. And look at the best offensive groupings that have played 400 minutes. They're all Dallas. And then they're Bojan Bogdanovic, Joe Ingles, and Royce O'Neal's a 117. Then actually a Phoenix group kind of slides in there. And then Gobert, Ingles, O'Neal's a 116. And then Bogdanovic, O'Neal, Mitchell is a 116. So, like, our main group is as good as any offense in the NBA. That's 116 is going to lead the NBA in offense. That's historical level. So 120 seems a little high, but frankly, is the bench going to be? The bench was an 80. What's a 110? We're still 114. We're still really dang good. Dallas is all the best offenses with Boston, Hayward, Walker, and Brown, and Tatum for 4-man groups, and then Gobert, Ingles, O'Neal, and Mitchell is a 118. Bogdanovic, Gobert, Ingles, O'Neal is a 118 also. So, I mean, our starting group is great. And that's a lot of minutes. Bogdanovic, Ingles, Royce, Donovan is a 118 also. I mean, that's all the same group, really. Mike Conley, Bogdanovich, Royce O'Neal, Donovan Mitchell's a 117. So yeah, if our bench doesn't have to be great for us to be elite offensively. I think that's maybe really what the takeaway is there. It just can't be dreadful. All right. This is probably a summer thing when there's less to talk about, but would it be fun to know what the pack was for the Jazz Bulls finals? You know what? I actually had a listener do it back a ways back, and I'll see if I can pull that up maybe for tomorrow. Do you think the Jazz make another move before the deadline? I think the Jazz investigate it pretty heavily in the sense that I think there's a feeling that there's either 4 or 5 title contenders in the NBA right now, and we're one of them. I think the Lakers and the Clippers and the Jazz right now is what people feel. Like, I don't know why people are quiet on Denver, but they don't seem to be feeling Denver. I'm not sure that's fair to Denver. They're not feeling the Rockets right now. I don't know if that's fair to the Rockets. And then Milwaukee and Boston seem to be the two that people are feeling in the East. So, yeah, I think they'll certainly be open in the market to trying to see if there's another push you can give this team. Planet-based Chad says you would be shocked at how often Vegas is higher on the Jazz than national thinking. Part of that might be, honestly, that Utahns get to Vegas and bet, right? I mean, their goal is to have 50% of the money on each side. LA teams are always a good bet in Vegas to bet the underside, because the people come up from LA and bet for their LA teams. Maybe with the all the technology that's changed. That's a 20-year-old version of things when I used to live in LA. Jordan Clarkson seems very efficient when he attacks a basket and gets a shot in the paint. Do you have his shooting percentage when he shoots at the hoop? I'll see if I can find it. He gets to the basket fabulously. He's not very efficient, frankly, but I don't think that's what a lot of us ever expected. I am getting exactly percentage-wise what I thought we would get out of Jordan at this point, and probably more in regards to kind of energy, swag, vibe, those things that he's doing for this team. I didn't know about him at all. I didn't know that he had all of that, and he brings a little something to the team in that regard that we didn't have, and I think that stuff's important. I do think it shows up in numbers, frankly. That's where I think, we're 10-0 since he joined us. I do think that stuff shows in regards to, how does it show? I just think you can, that's where plus minus and some of these other things where you're wondering, why are they better when he's on the floor, or why do they win when he plays, or he's healthy? I think those things, that's how those things show. But that's to each of their own likings. Jordan's shooting percentage, he gets to the rim at a really high rate is what would be the strength of his. And he actually is a pretty darn good finisher at the rim. So if that's what you're asking, I think you are correct on that. Justin Sweeney, former Utah Jazz broadcast assistant. Even though the Jazz didn't extend the lead in the juncture, I thought the last 2 minutes of the third quarter for Tony were exquisite. Wow. Quick and efficient outlet passes, good defensive spacing. Seems like he's better awareness. Both he and Rudy have been throwing some nice outlet passes that we didn't throw earlier this year. To Rudy's credit, he really has made an effort to get that done. And then in addition to that, I think we've seen very good from Tony. Tony's always been pretty good at that outlet pass. So, yeah, I mean, Justin, I think Tony played really well. And they've made some subtle adjustments with him and how to let him be successful. I mean, Quinn really tries to help these guys out and make them successful in every single fashion that he can. So I think that, there's you see these little, it's why you probably we all should wait to make opinions. Let him have some time. Let Quinn get his hands on him. Let's see if they respond to Tony and see what happens. I do not know what happened on that free throw, by the way. I mean, I've watched it a bunch of times. I actually think he might have unintentionally meant to. I don't know how. I mean, it looks like, frankly, he didn't go up with two hands, so it kind of looks like, it does kind of look like, in some weird way, he might have meant to. It would be hard to maintain second with the upcoming schedule. Yeah, I mean, our schedule gets a lot harder. So that's certainly, yeah, we're not going to win at this rate forever. That would be pretty incredible. Um, so, I think that's where 538 and ESPN and those guys are evaluating your win probability in each and every item in every game to be able to figure that out for you. And I think that's really what they do. There is a new fitness product that's out there for 2020, so you don't have to pay a ton at the gym or overpriced fitness equipment. The best way to get in shape, it's called Echelon. Echelon. EchelonFit.com. Discover their X1 connected fitness bikes that offer a high-quality, at-home cycling experience at less than half of the price of a Peloton. They make beautifully engineered products for everyone, busy moms and dads, first responders, elite athletes, whatever your activity level, and with a daily live and on-demand studio classes right in your home, you'll never have to step into a gym. You'll love Echelon. If you're not 100% satisfied, they'll give you your money back. So hundreds and thousands of people are doing the Don't Pay a Ton Buy Echelon bike today for under $1,000. Go to echelonfit.com/LONBA to learn more about the limited offer, plus a free Apple iPad and complete details on this exclusive offer. It's echelonfit.com/LONBA. Echelonfit/LONBA. Echelon, it's your time. All right, we close with Nathan Dalton with the $1 million question. Do we close with Conley, Mitchell, Ingles, Bogey, Gobert? We are pretty small in defense there. Can you see Clarkson or O'Neal getting in there for rebounds and defense? I think Quinn's going to have to play it by ear and play it by game because I think it's going to really depend. Royce has shown great value on different games at different times. And I think that one of the really primary things he's shown is tremendous rebounding. So therefore, if we're playing a team that's crashing the offensive glass, either Mike's going to really have to rebound, as are Bogey and Ingles, which there's not their strengths, or you're going to have to finish with Royce, who's our second leading rebounder. As a Jazz fan, am I in the wrong feeling tired of the nobody talks about us take? I've never liked that take because somebody's talking about you. Go find it. I listened to Kevin Pelton and Kirk Goldsberry when they were on the ESPN podcast the other day because I listen to anything Pelton does. And they did blow right by the Jazz. Oh, we probably should be talking about them, but we ran out of time. But we also should be talking about Memphis. We also should be talking about the Lakers. We also should be talking about Milwaukee a lot. They did. A lot. They're historically great. We also should be talking about, Toronto. I don't really know why people. I've always felt this. This is certainly my probably frustration or insecurity or something. But as a national talk show host comes on, you're we always want to hear what the when 1280 The Zone has Chris Mannix and Howard Beck and all those guys on every week, then maybe those guys make an extended effort to go watch the Jazz. But I kind of doubt it. Sam Amick probably took a little extra to watch the Jazz. I kind of doubt it. They're doing their job. And their job's actually not, as a national writer, to watch one of the smaller markets in the league. So I've never quite understood why we're so obsessed with having other people who don't watch us talk about us. I just have never got that. What is Wes Goldberg's problem accepting Rudy is the best? Wes Goldberg is the Tuesday Locked On NBA host. I don't know, but I like him, promote him, and I don't buy guys off. He's good. He's really good. Warrior beat writer. I don't know. Maybe indirectly on Locked On NBA Today, I call Wes Goldberg dumb because I said that I think Rudy Gobert is the litmus test to me of how people view the NBA. If people get Rudy, to me, it tells me how much they watch and they understand the game. And if they don't understand Rudy and they start talking to me about every other center and how they score more and this and that, and then to me, it's a litmus test to me of where you are as understanding of the game as a whole picture. There's a bunch of. Do I have Pack in the clutch? I do not. We're 10-0 since on Twitch. Trevor Fairbanks says we're 10-0 since Clarkson's arrival. Is he what will push us over the edge of the playoffs, or will another player need to step up to get to the conference finals? Oh, I mean, our great players are going to have to be great for us to get to the conference finals, but he gives us another option. I mean, he gives us 240 minutes of basketball. Like that's the phrase I've used a lot. We've talked about it a lot. He gives us 240 minutes of basketball. He's the glue that gives that second unit a little juice. And, if we'd won 10 in a row and 15 of 16 and announced tomorrow that we were trading 3 G League players you'd never heard of for Mike Conley, you would take it. And that's what we're basically going to do. This team has formed itself without Mike Conley, and now we're going to take a high-level player and add him to the roster, and we're going to have to figure it out. Like, it's going to be tricky. Now, when he starts, he's going to be on minute restrictions, and there's going to be all sorts of other aspects to it that make it even a little more tricky than just that. I'm sure that he's not coming out and playing 34 minutes off a hamstring, so, is he playing limited time and then working progressively up, and then you're dealing – so there's an integration process here that is probably a little different than what, if you just traded for him the next day. But if we made a trade tomorrow to add Mike Conley to the roster, the league would go crazy. We would go crazy and think we were going to win it. So in regards to who has to step up, I think everyone does, but we're loaded with skills, right? I mean, we've probably got one too many players at this point. And then Tony's got to show that he's ready to keep progressing. But Emmanuel Mudiay, who did not come with any track record of being a viable NBA player, is a viable NBA player. I might have to check in with Adam Morris of Locked On Nuggets and who does Friday edition of Locked On NBA, because he basically told me that if Emmanuel Mudiay becomes a viable NBA player, he would give up we're talking about the game, which would be bad because his show's really good. But that has happened. Do we need another big, or Tony Bradley and Ed Davis enough when we have to rest Rudy? We could. Tony Bradley, I think, let's let Tony Bradley keep going. Let's let Tony Bradley keep going. Tony Bradley has some skills that are really good. In other words, my point on that, I think, is I'm not just adding someone for the sake of adding someone. Okay? Would you rather have Tony Bradley or Alex Len? I'm just trying to think of backup. Would you rather have Tony Bradley or Dwayne Dedman? Certainly Tony Bradley on Dwayne Dedman's contract. Would you rather Dwight Howard's a hell of a backup center, right? The Warriors, I don't think, have a backup center. You're not getting a backup center from the Lakers, Clippers, Rockets, right? The Rockets that I'm thinking of don't have a backup center right now. PJ Tucker, right? So I think, first of all, you got to figure out, who are the backup centers, and then are they that much better than Tony? And then, obviously, Tony's young, 22 years old, and playoffs and things like that are, we don't know, but let's let him keep going. ESPN's was questioning the Jazz strength streak due to strength of schedule from Periscope. I've got a few comments on that. One, the Lakers won 9 in a row against sub-500 teams, and nobody said a word other than me that I heard. So no one's probably not true. I didn't hear it. 2, it's true. 3, Orlando beat the Lakers last night. Detroit beat Boston. This time of year, teams lose games. So have we established ourselves as the number 1 team in all of the NBA? Nah. Have we established ourselves as better than Denver, Houston, Dallas? I don't know. I'm not sure I'm really willing to go there. Have we established ourselves as in the class? Yes. Were we behind that before? Yes. Have we, maybe you think we've separated ourselves from them and that we're now in the class of the Clippers and Lakers. We might have done that. That we'll have to prove, right? We'll have to go down to Texas, win some games. Go to Denver, win some games. I mean, we have not played Denver. We have not played Houston. We have not played San Antonio. So I think we have to understand that there is some validity to that, and who we are right now. What is Rudy's defensive rating in the clutch? I don't know, but ours as a team is exceptional. Who will be getting more minutes by the end of the game, by the end of the season, Moutier or Clarkson? Clarkson. No question, just saying thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Can you please? Wow, there's a lot of questions. Can you please let everyone hear your opinion on Matt Harpring as a commentator? I think he's really good. I think if you listen to everyone else around the league, you'd realize how good he is. I think he's still in touch with the game. I think he has a very good feel. I love talking to him after games, because I don't get to hear the broadcast. When I do watch the broadcast, you have one of the best directing, producing teams in the NBA. You've got the broadcaster of the year in Craig, and you've got Matt, who's really, really good. And really, the number one argument on Matt is he's too nice to the other team. Shut the – really? Like, it's such a bad argument. It's kind of like when everyone hits me, you don't give the score. I went back. I got 2 you don't give the scores the other. I went back and re-listened to the whole game. I took an hour of my and a half, listened to the whole game. It's not true. I charted the whole flipping thing. It's not true. And so my argument, everyone, I see it on Harpring. I love the other team. Stop it. He loves the Jazz. He clearly worked for the Jazz. He's a player who respects brilliance when he sees it. And if you don't, that's not on him. That's on you. If you can't enjoy Giannis, if you can't enjoy LeBron, if you can't enjoy Steph Curry, if you can't enjoy the greatest athletes in the world because they don't wear your uniform, that's on you, not on Matt. Okay? So Matt's really good. Listen to the other league. Listen to the other teams. He's really good. I love hearing you on NBA radio when they do Battle of the Broadcasters. I never hear that, so someone tell me when it happens. What is a good books to read to learn more about basketball analytics? Basketball on Paper by Dean Oliver is the first and best one. Kirk Goldsberry has a new book that's out that's very good as well. So those would be my 2. What are your thoughts on trading Ed Davis in a second rounder for Jabari Parker? Jabari Parker has never shown in his NBA career yet that he can be a winning player. We would not like Jabari Parker if he was not a part of the – like, seriously, let's be honest. Like, there's nothing in Jabari Parker's game other than the fact, like, he flirted with going to BYU and we followed him his whole career. Like, it's just, like, I don't think he's shown that. Does Ingles have a post-NBA career in media or broadcasting when he retires? Maybe, but it's a lot of travel and a lot of time away from his family. He's made a lot of money. So I don't know why he'd want to do it. We need a third big for insurance. So you think we can get a third big better than Ed Davis? Like, we have a third big for insurance. It's Ed Davis. I know it's not this simple, but wouldn't it be a good idea to let Moutier still get minutes when Mike is back and cut Mike and Joe's minutes down to under 30 a game? It might be a good idea. Do you still win? That would be the question I would ask you. Do you still win? Right? You're not Quinn is so pleased with Emmanuel Mudiay. But I don't know where Mike Conley's – if Mike Conley's really good, right? So if Mike Conley gets going and Mike Conley's Mike Conley, and that's 30, 28, 30, 31, 32 minutes, that's a lot. I don't know where they come from. It's Dave Week? Aw, love Dave Week. Are we doing a Dave Day on Saturday at the game? Happy Dave Week, everybody. People really got mad at me for my Rudy Gobert triple-double tweet. Yes, they did, and we talked about it on Locked On NBA, which you should right now go tell your smart device to play most recent episode of podcast.